Hi everyone, welcome to my birth story. Gosh, it's been 6 months since I had my baby girl, and it's crazy what they say about you literally forget really quickly about your labor, and it's so true because honestly I should have done it way before, but I kept thinking, yeah, of course, it's my story, like I know what happened exactly, so I will never forget. But obviously I know what happened, I remember everything, but the feelings you had back then is just they just disappear. All the pain, all the suffering, it's just gone. So the first thing I remember saying after I gave birth is, I'm never doing this again, we're never having more babies, that's it, I don't want any more. And just these days I was like, so when should we plan to have our next baby, blah blah, and it's just crazy. Steven is like, seriously, you told me you don't want any more. My story is not, I wouldn't say it was a horrendous one, because once I hear other people's story, I'm like, wow, why was I complaining? Like, I don't think it was that bad. So my labor lasted 20 hours, I would say. Around 4 o'clock in the morning, I was sleeping, and suddenly, like, I opened my eyes and I was like, this is it. Like, I know, I just had this feeling. Even though before going into labor, I didn't know the feeling. I mean, everyone knows if you didn't have a baby before. It's so, like, the unknown. You don't know how is the first contraction. Are you gonna know if it's that? How are you gonna feel? How do you know that it's actually the contraction? This one, it just felt like it. Like days before, I remember having some not contractions. There were some Braxton Hicks together with some cramps, period pain. I kept thinking, is this labor? Is this labor? But it just passes. But this one, the first contraction I had, which was really mild, like it wasn't strong at all. I just had the feeling it was that. So I remember starting to time it and see how long they're gonna last and how long in between. And I remember the next one came after 15 minutes, then the following 15 minutes, and I just didn't know if to wake up Steven, because he had 1 hour more to sleep before he goes to work. He had to wake up at 5 o'clock, and he woke up just before then. And I was like, babe, I think I'm going into labor. And we started like planning it the same way. We were relaxed, we stayed in bed. He was just asking me, how is it going, let's time it, let's see how far apart they are. And they kept coming every 15 minutes, and like 1 hour later it's starting to come every 10 minutes. So it was pretty fast, the timing in between. It was lasting around 40 seconds. I was pretty relaxed, I was getting hungry, and I thought, I'm just gonna go and have breakfast and start the day and see how this goes. Obviously I wasn't nervous, I wasn't stressed, I wasn't scared or anything. I was really relaxed, feeling really good, and I was just thinking the unknown, like, when am I gonna see my baby? How is it gonna go, and all that stuff. But I was completely calm. So I had my breakfast because it was still 6 o'clock in the morning, and I stayed in bed. The contractions kept coming, but around 8 we said, let's just go downstairs and I'll just start moving around and see what's gonna happen. I was moving around, I was sitting on the medicine ball. I remember searching all about hypnobirthing, all about natural birth, all this relaxation way before my due date. And I just thought, I wanted that. I want a natural birth, I want everything to be calm, I want to feel completely non-stressed. So I was doing my research about hypnobirthing and how to control your contractions with your own breathing and all that. So I went downstairs and straight away I put some hypnobirthing. I was controlling my contractions, and it was pretty good. It felt like quite painful period. I normally have them really strong, so it felt like that, and I was like, yeah, I can do it, I can deal with this. It's not that bad. And little by little they're gradually getting stronger, but I could deal with them. Then suddenly my contractions started to go like everywhere. Like every minute I was having a contraction, but sometimes lasted 20 seconds, sometimes lasted a minute, sometimes lasted 50 seconds, so it was all over the place. So we thought, maybe let's wait a little bit more. So I took a shower just in case we had to rush to hospital or whatever. After that I thought, I think we should call the hospital just to get an idea. When it's your first one, you don't know when is the time to go to the hospital. You don't know if those contractions you're having are already the strong ones, or you're just clueless. we called them. They told us you have to wait. If you can still talk while your contractions are going, that means you're not ready yet. And I was like, yeah, because I spoke to them and I was like, yeah, I feel fine. I remember getting really cold. It was middle of July. It was amazing weather out and I was feeling cold at home and I was like, babe, let's just go outside. I want to sit in the garden. I want the sun because I'm feeling cold. I was getting like shakes. It felt weird. So I went outside. Stephen came, sat next to me. And I felt really good in the sun. And suddenly I had a contraction. And then suddenly I got so hot, like I couldn't deal with it. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm going in. It's really hot here. So I went from shaking, being really cold to 2 minutes later, having a contraction, getting really hot and back in. So I just left Steven sitting outside and I was back in the house just doing more breathing. I think this was around 12:30 now. I said, these are going really strong now and also they're really close together. Let's give them another call and see what they say. It was pretty hard now for me to talk, but still I was okay. In between contractions, I was totally fine. I was myself. We called them. They said, okay, you can come in and we can check and see how things are. We got everything ready. We drove to the hospital and let me tell you, when you have contractions and you're in the car, is the worst thing. Like I had my eyes closed the whole time and halfway I was like, no, I forgot my notes because you have to take them with you. So halfway we had to come back home, pick up the notes and drive there to the hospital. I arrived, they checked me and I was 1 centimeter. I was so disappointed. I thought, how is it gonna feel later? Like if I'm already feeling like this. And also I kept saying, I want a natural birth, I don't want anything, I don't want any drugs. If I take something, it would be only the Gasenev. As soon as they checked me, they were like, sorry, you're gonna have to go back home. And I was like, oh my god, I don't know why a lot of people feel safe at home, but I felt safer in the hospital. I just wanted to be there just in case, if anything, I know I'm there and I don't need to drive back. Also, I didn't want the ride back home with the contractions. So after they told us you have to come back home, I was sitting down and suddenly I felt my water broke. And as soon as I got up, it was like, psh. I mean, it wasn't like psh. I felt like if you were peeing yourself, but you couldn't control it. So the midwife said, just go back home, relax, and then whenever you feel like they're really strong, you can come back. We came back home and they told me, you have to eat something, because that was already 1 o'clock and the last time I ate something was around 6 in the morning. So they said, you need to put something on your body because you're gonna need some energy for later. So I came home, Stephen prepared some pasta and I was just looking at it and I was like, I can't, like I don't want anything, like I couldn't even chew it. It felt like everything's super dry and not right. I just didn't want anything. I said, I'm going to bed, I can't, I need to lie down. I went upstairs, I felt the urge to push. I was like, oh, I was like, why am I doing this? What's going on? And I was like, babe. So he came up and I was like, I'm pushing. And then I had another contraction and I started pushing and he was like, okay, I'm gonna call, this is not right, you need to be in hospital. He called them back again and they were like, no, she's fine, you have to wait a bit longer. And he was like, okay, but she is pushing, like she's doing these weird noises, because it wasn't like pushing, it was like it was horrendous. And he was freaking out and they were like, okay, you can come to the hospital. We were home for literally 20 minutes. I arrived there, the midwife came, checked me, and I was 7 centimeters dilated. Like literally, it's been 1 hour and a half, I would say, from going from 1 centimeter to 7. And the midwife was, this baby is gonna come soon. So they gave me Gasenev there. So I was like using it and they would try and make me eat something and I was like, I can't. I remember Stephen giving me some sweets. The girl asked me, do you want some essential oils and I can give you a massage? And I was like, yes, that would be great. Then I lie down, she starts giving me a massage, and because of the Gasenev, she made me turn on my side to start massaging. And literally I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna throw up, and literally poor midwife, I felt so bad. I had to change my t-shirt, I put another one. She was like, you know what, let's do something. Would you want to go in the bath? Like you can go to the pool. and you can have a water birth. And I was like, actually, I think I just want something stronger. I can't, like, I don't want, I know I wanted a natural birth, but I need something right now, and I don't care. Just give me something. I don't want the bath, because since the beginning I knew I didn't want that, because I get cold really quickly and it's just not comfortable for me. And you need to be as comfortable as you can. And some people, they're more comfortable being in the water than not. But I couldn't. I didn't want to be in it. She was like, trust me, you're not gonna be cold. We can change the water all the constantly, so the water will be warm. And the room is actually nice temperature, so you can try it. If you don't like it, we can ask for something. I said, okay, we can. Well, before getting in the water, she's like, okay, the water's ready, you can come in. I was like, no, just give me something stronger. And she was like, I'm gonna try and call downstairs to see if they can take you to give you something stronger. But because I was in another ward where you can't have any drugs, it's more natural. They had to call and take me downstairs and all that stuff. So she said, just try the water. I'm gonna try and call them and see what's gonna happen. Meanwhile, I was pushing all this time. I kept having this urge of pushing. I went into the water and was so uncomfortable. I didn't feel okay, but I was like, it's fine, I'm in it now, so I can deal with it. It's actually not super cold or anything. So I kept having my contractions. I was screaming, making the weirdest noises ever. I wasn't screaming because I remember hearing another lady in the room next to us, and it was literally, those were proper screams. I was just having this noise, which is really weird. That was 5 o'clock, I would say 5, 6 o'clock already, waiting for the girl to come back. She came to me and she said, I'm sorry, but they're quite busy right now, which is weird. They have queue for people who want epidural, so we can wait a bit longer and then you can try again. So in the meanwhile, you can just go through this. Then she said, you want me to check you again and see how dilated you are, and then we can go from there. They checked me and they were like, it's too late now for you to have an epidural. I think this baby's coming really soon. You're gonna be giving birth really soon, so you don't need it. You can do it. I know you can. So she kept pushing me to, you can do it, and giving me energy and all that. But once you want something stronger because you can't deal with pain, it's just nothing they can tell you. Steven was he was suffering so much because he didn't want to see me in pain, so he kept holding me. He didn't want to ask me if I was okay or if he needed anything, because he just knew that leaving me alone would be the best thing then. So hours have passed. It was, I think, 9:30 in the evening, and she said, okay, let me just check you and see how are you now. So I had to leave the water, go back into bed, and they checked me, and she said, okay, you're ready, you can start pushing anytime now because this baby's coming. I had this nice relief, thinking, oh my god, like, that's it, this is the last hours I have, so I can push and I can give my all to see my baby. So I was like, I don't care now about the pain, I'm just gonna keep pushing, and I was pushing the whole 2 hours and nothing. And she kept checking me, checking the baby's heart. The baby was really okay. And so after 2 hours, obviously you can't be pushing more than 2 hours because it becomes a risk for the baby, or it's just not okay. So she had to go. She said, give me a minute, I'm gonna give a call downstairs and ask all the doctors and see what we can do. So then she came with another midwife and she said, okay, we're gonna take you downstairs because the baby's head is not in the right position for it to come out, so it's getting stuck. We're gonna have to take you downstairs and speak with doctors and see what would be the plan. So they had to take me downstairs. I get the doctors all coming to me, asking me all sorts of questions, and I didn't want to talk. They had make me sign some things because they said I needed to use, they were gonna use a spinal. They're gonna have to use forceps to get the baby out. So they will have to cut me and then use the forceps and get the baby out. And if that doesn't work, I will gonna have to go for a C-section. So all my plan of having natural birth, everything went completely the opposite. I wanted a natural birth. Yes, I did go natural the whole way, and I pushed for 2 hours. So all that, I didn't have any drugs until last minute, which it had to be done. I felt so relieved after they gave me the spinal, like the pain was gone. I could rest and I was so like, I felt so calm. Even though I knew something was going on, I didn't feel stressed or anything. So they told me, okay, just start pushing when we let you know, because you don't have any feelings of contractions then. So she's like, okay, you can push now. So I pushed, I think I pushed twice, and my baby girl was out. I remember they put her on me. They put a blanket on me because I started shaking. I was really like, you get the shakes from the epidural and from the spinal. And when they put the baby with the blanket, I couldn't see it. I was like, oh my God, it happened. But she wasn't crying or breathing. And so I didn't see her. I remember I couldn't even hold her. So they had to take her straight away. Everything is okay, don't you worry. We're just gonna have to, give her some oxygen and, check her. Don't you worry, everything will be okay, don't you worry. So while Stephen was next to me, completely stressed, like, oh my God, she's not crying, nothing's going on, what's happening? I was in another planet. I was like, oh my God, the baby's out, I don't have any pain. It's just weird. I remember because the doctor I had stitches obviously because they had to cut me. So the lights they used, it had a bit of reflection, so I could see what he was doing, which is, if my normal me would be like, oh my God, what's going on in there? Like, oh, I can't deal with that. He had to get the placenta out and then start stitching, and I was watching all that while Stephen was like, oh my God, my baby. And I was like, babe, look, I can see through there, like I can see how he's doing the stitches. Can you see? And he was like I mean, he didn't want to tell me, seriously? Are you talking about that right now? When our daughter's not even like breathing or crying? So he was like, okay, that's fine. So they kept assuring me, don't you worry, yes, this is normal. It's gonna be okay. She was just like being for so long there when I was pushing, her head got stuck in my pelvic. When she was out, I couldn't see her, but Stephen told me her head was like cone, was really like swollen. They told him, you want to go and see the baby, like even though they still like making her breathe and all that. He said, you can go and have a look and you can take a picture so you can show your wife. So he went, he took a picture, he came to me and showed me, and the way my poor baby, she was so swollen, all her face, because of the oxygen. She just didn't look like any of us, and I was like, oh my God, who's that? We waited, I think, for 20 minutes there, and while we were waiting for them to stitch me, she cried, then she stops, then she cries again, then she stops. They called all the doctors, then all the doctors, and I remember at one point I was looking around, I was counting how many people. It was like more than 13 people in that room. I was starting to freak out and I was like, what's going on? Like, I want her to be with me, So they said, okay, you're done now, we're gonna take you to your room, and meanwhile we're gonna take her to neonatal and check her properly. So don't you worry, we're gonna keep you updated. They took me on my room, they kept coming to check on me and all that, and I was like, okay, what about my baby? I want to see my baby, like, how is she? And they're like, it's fine, we're gonna get an update very soon, and we're gonna come back to you once we know something. We're gonna come back to you. Oh my God, like, this is so annoying. Like, that's the last thing I wanted. All I wanted is to have her with me after I give birth and I start doing skin to skin and I start breastfeeding. So all that didn't happen. By the way, she was born at 11:55, and at 2:30 they came to us and they told us she's fine, don't you worry, but she has to stay in neonatal because she needs help, but she's totally fine, she's gonna get over it really quickly. So they asked Stephen if he wanted to go and see her downstairs, so he went. He couldn't hold her, she was in a cubicle, I don't know what you call them. So he saw her, he took some pictures, then he came up, he showed me, and then I told him, you know what, there is nothing else to do here, you can go home, get some rest, because the baby's not with us anyway and I need some rest, so you can go get your rest and then come tomorrow. All this was in the middle of COVID and he couldn't just come back the following day anytime. We got tested and we had to wait for the test to come before they gave him the okay to come. If he was negative, he could come. So he left and then I had to go. They asked me if I wanted to go and see her, so I went and I saw her. She opened her eyes. And I was like, oh my god, like that's my baby. I just didn't feel, because I didn't see her until that moment, like hours and hours later. So I went back upstairs. I just had to have my rest and wait for the following day. And the following day they called me and they told me if I want to go and start breastfeeding, so you can, you know, she can start the process of feeding and all that. I went to the neonatal, I started breastfeeding, and it was the most amazing thing ever. It went so smoothly. She latched pretty quickly, and I loved it. We had to stay in the hospital for 2 or 3 days, and she got better. On the second day they brought her up to me, and I could have her sleeping next to me. And the following day they told me everything is good. If you want to go home, you can go now. So yeah, that was my birth story. Would I do it again? Probably yes. Would I do it everything natural? I don't think so. I'll be more open this time, because if I went before and I said, okay, from the beginning I wanted epidural, probably would have helped. Probably I wouldn't have had all these problems, because pushing for 2 hours is what made her maybe be like in that situation. She was just struggling too much. So that's my birth story. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.